Yeah. So, okay. So next speaker is Hans Lehmann, and Hans is a retired Macy's executive, and he has written 3 books on mischief and on playing Santa, which I happen to have. And then the last one is on his memoirs, which I think we have, but we just couldn't find it. Recently, he began writing a blog on his daily activities, excursions, philosophies, and more. He has lived in Carmel off and on since 1939. Is that right?
Wow.
Lives in a 1929 redwood bungalow and enjoys traveling to third world countries. And he's written a blog about my gallery a couple of weeks ago, I think. So really, very, very sweet. So if you haven't seen it, I have that copy right here. And you can sign up to read his blogs if you haven't. So, Hans?
Thank you, Edie. Thank you, Edie. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to talk about blogs. I'm going to put my watch here, see where I am. I'll tell you what a blog is, how I decided on mine, what I write about, how I write it. I'll read a few blogs, and then questions. So half this information is from Google. That's, the Bible of information for me anyway. So Google's definition is a blog is a journal where an individual, group, or corporation presents a record of activities, thoughts, or beliefs. And I believe that in my case, it is not only a journal, but a journey as well. Through my life, it could be called a slice of life. And now I think I've written 41 as of today in a 4-month period. Or it could be called an extended storytelling. Supposedly, nearly 32 million bloggers exist in America. And the internet houses 600 million blogs. I mean, it's a lot. In my case, I decided on writing a blog for 3 reasons. One, purpose. I am at a point where I thought, I need a new purpose. And I suddenly thought, blog might be that avenue to go. 2, I like to write. I really enjoy writing. And so last time, Edward is a sculptor who was here, and I was thinking he really likes to sculpt, and Edie really likes to paint and to do fabrics and to sew. We all have different things we enjoy doing, and I like to write. So I thought, gee, that's a combination. And number 3, I need a little money. Last year, like Edie said, my house is 100 years old, and it was moved from downtown Carmel in the 40s. There was a restaurant called Ellis Southern Kitchen. Half of it was moved in rollers, and they used inferior sand, probably with salt, in the cement. And all of a sudden, the last few years, the foundation you could kind of take out in your hands, and I went to different people, and finally ended up finding a structural engineer, a contractor, a architect, and the bank. And so I did much of my foundation. Then I had old pieces of wood. It's a redwood house, which had to be redone. And then I had it all painted. And then I had a back stairwell, which was falling apart outside, going into an upstairs studio, which I have for rent. And I didn't want someone to fall on the stairs. So anyway, I had a lot of money that I spent, and I thought maybe I could get a little stipend, not to pay for it all, but which gets to be a little tricky, and I'll talk more about that. But anyway, asking for money gets very complicated, in my opinion. And it's more than writing. I call it a craft, because I'll spend 4 or 5 hours on just a little 350-word blog, because you have it in front of you with a computer, and you change this, and you change that, and you change the tense, and you add, And the two big words that always give me trouble is and but. When they use an and, when they use a but. And then I have these two, and then I switch that way. Anyway. And I decided to have a title, Walking My Ways. It was Walking My Way, which I liked, but somebody else had it. So I added an S on Walking My Ways, so now it's Walking My Ways. Basically, it's on musings and perspectives and light-hearted reflections, philosophies, activities, encounters, happenings, and like I mentioned earlier, it could be called a slice of life. It's a smidgen of mine is a smidgen of a memoir. It's a daily memoir. And you look at it, if you're going to do a marathon, it's 26 miles. I don't know how many feet that is. I think, anyway, a lot. And writing a blog is you do not only a foot, you do an inch at a time. Today's inch, anyway, that's what I do. Some blogs are free, many are not. Mine is free, but I encourage people to pay, and that gets really tricky because I look at it like you have a house guest and you say, do you mind paying for your room? You know? And it's very complicated. I started by writing to all my email addresses, and that got complicated. I had a friend who helped me put it on Substack. Substack is it's an organization that works with writers, and it does all the work for you. It sends it out, and if you get money, it puts it in the bank. And incidentally, put it in the bank, so you give the bank account, and there's some people who pay by months. Many don't, but actually, according to Substack, which has statistics, millions of statistics, you could find out anything you want if you know how to read this. I don't. But one of them is that between 5 and 10% do pay for the blog. In my case, I have about 25%, so that's pretty good. I'm happy about that. And I know of 3 blogs. 2 are free and 1 pay for one is every day, a daily blog, which this lady does. She's a little older like I am, and I think she wants to show to her family that she's doing well, so every day she writes a blog. It gets to be a little monotonous. I know somebody else who writes 1 blog a week, and I know somebody who writes 1 blog a month. I write 2 blogs a week, on Mondays and on Thursdays. Substack is an American online platform that allows journalists, writers, and other content creators to publish newsletters and establish a subscription-based audience. And without a friend of mine, I could never have gotten onto Substack. It's really complicated. I had all these emails, and I still have all these emails, and I don't know, some of them, you know, some people change emails every few years or something, and many people have names on their emails which have nothing to do with their name. Like Dr. Squash. How would you know who that was? Well, I'll tell you, it's this gentleman here. Or His Gal by Grace, or Kiwarama, or Happy Sojourn, or CDL 1067. I don't know what any of those people are, who they are. I don't know if they still exist. So I started editing and I quit editing. So I sent it out to about 400 people. And I think maybe 250 to 300 of those are really involved in reading my blog, and some do it more often than others. There are a ton of statistics that would help. And one of the people at one of your events here once asked me, who is your audience? I don't even know who my audience is. I don't even know who my I want my audience to be. I think I want my audience to be my friends, people I know, or friends of friends, but it gets a little tricky. And I'm trying to enlarge my audience. And a lot of the information started to be about Carmel, walking to the post office, what I encountered, who I saw, what I did. But after a while, that gets boring, so then it branches out. And it's really funny. I could not be an artist because every time I sold or would give away a painting, it would hurt me, even though I'm sure it's wonderful to know it goes to a new home. But what I was going to say is, if I get a new subscriber, I love it, I get very excited, I have very thin skin. And if I get a subscriber who pays, I get even more excited. I really do. On the other hand, if somebody unsubscribes, it hurts me. I mean, it's a sensitive situation. So that's, on the other hand, people do like my blog, and I've reconnected. Panama, I got a letter from Panama. I got a letter from Japan. I got a letter from Chicago. People, I haven't heard them in 20 or 30 or 40 years. Read my email and came back. So, going back to the money side, some people want to pay with a bottle of wine or take me out for dinner, which I love. But how do you adjust for that?
You have to take the bill and send it to the government, consider it income.
Perhaps. And it's, I do have to put it on my taxes. And it's challenging. Forbes says you have to keep the content machine churning if you want to thrive, which is not easy. I spoke earlier that I'm always scared that I'll run out of ideas, that I'll get writer's block, that I want to know what to write about. And I am 3 or 4 weeks ahead in my blog, so I could not write for a little bit and I still haven't entered. It is wonderful for the ego, anyway, my ego, in my blog. And it is highly rewarding that way. And I'll give you some more than I should, little statements. I surely enjoy your walking my ways. Stay well and keep walking my ways coming. I really enjoy the snippets you write. They are friendly, concise, and each one brings me back to Carmel and the area. So I've tried to do more to Carmel, but it's not that easy. I don't normally read blogs, but I don't miss yours. Thanks for your little blogs. Fun and funny they are. I mean, that makes you feel very good. My values, in some respects, are similar to Edie's, that art therapy, if you're smiling, it's working. I like to have people smile. I like to have people laugh. I like people to feel good. And that's part of the purpose. You continually delight me with your music and your observations as you travel about town and the peninsula. This is kind of long. I look forward to consuming them as soon as they arrive in my inbox. They always bring a warmth to my soul and a smile to my face. Thank you. You made me smile, which is a good way to start the day. Great. You have a nice formula, short and sweet, and often a lovely message of hope. Very nice, Hans. You're delighting the internet with these vignettes. And so I'll read you some of the blogs. And actually, I don't know if I have it here, or if, maybe I don't have it with me. I was going to read you today's, but I won't. So I'll read you some others. Walking to the Carmel post office is always a trip. Now there's an earlier one, and it's the ideal, but you can't do it every time. Literally, recently I passed a gardener sitting on the road eating an enormous sandwich. When I asked if he or his wife made it, he gave me a thumbs up. Then I chatted with neighbors, getting ready to drive to Big Sur. Mother sat in the front of the car eating her breakfast. Grandmother sipped coffee in the back. Daughter sat in the safety seat. Husband drove and Mango, the dog, was in the rumble seat. Actually, there was another eeny weeny teeny tiny baby who I did not see as mom was pregnant. And I did see her last week, and I will see her next week when I'm playing Santa. And her first daughter is 2 years old, who may cry when she sees Santa. That's a difficult age. And the new one will be around January 1st. Then I spoke to a tourist who was trying to untangle himself on 2 Yorkshire Terriers, one of which was extremely unhappy to see me. And the lady looked at me and my walking sticks and commented, "Walking sticks are great, I agree. They are mine back there." And later, as I returned from my walk, I sat on a bench. Soon I met a couple who lived in the Sacramento Delta and often came to Carmel. In short order, we began having a healthy conversation about Carmel, as they had been coming here for years. I said, "Where do you eat?" They said, "Anton and Michelle and A.W. Shucks." Now, I know Anton and Michelle is very good but rather expensive and very well known, but never been to A.W. Shucks. So I went there and found it very good, very reasonable, and the service outstanding. I passed it many times, but never entered it. Now I was glad I did. Beneath. Another one. Finding a new family physician, dentist, podiatrist, dermatologist, attorney, handyman, house cleaner, gardener, or anyone else in any profession is never easy. And this includes finding a barber. For years I had the same barber. We both attended a piano playing class at MPC. His wife worked for Macy's, where I worked. We were tight, joked, discussed a ton of topics, and he always gave me a big discount. After he retired, his successor seemed to raise the price every time I entered his shop. In addition, the shop seemed different. Different talk, just different. One morning, I happened to be in Seaside on a nondescript street when I spied a funky-looking beauty salon that advertised men's, women's, and children's in large neon letters. I went in and have never looked back. That was over 5 years ago. Yolanda, the proprietress, is very good, consistent, reasonable, and fast. What more can one ask for? Although every time I go, I fear she will be closed, but so far she's always been open. Yesterday I was there and began to scrutinize the salon's walls and ambience. There were 6 different photos of 6 different hairstyles. To me, they looked the same. And there were 4 small candy dispensers, all empty. And a large fish tank with some large and small fish. And many lovely plants hanging all around. And maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much. It felt like home. So that's the blogs and that's the story. So, questions?
I have a question.
By all means.
When you meet these people, do you just memorize what they said, or do you have a tape recorder, or?
Oh no, I remember it.
Oh, okay.
You're assuming that all this is right.
You're taking some poetic license.
Right, a lot of poetic license. No, but I remember it.
Did you read a book, Barking Your Way to the Top?
No.
Oh, okay. You wrote a book. What was
I
it?
wrote a book, the first book was How to Lose Friends
That was the
and
one.
Other Social
Okay.
Graces. Yeah, do you know that? It's a book
The
of
writers
mischief.
group. Yeah.
It's a book
we
of
have that.
mischief.
You came by our writers group and we talked once.
I did.
Monterey Shorts. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, and the second book was Santa has an
Yeah, the Santa. Yeah.
agent.
That's right. How to
Yeah.
And the
lose
third book,
I'll pass this around.
which Fred has in his book pile somewhere, is Blessed and Zany. Blessed because I've led a blessed life. All my life has been over the top blessed. And zany because I've led it in a zany fashion. Anything else? Everybody can write a blog, and you might all enjoy writing a blog. Yes.
What is your platform? Is it WordPress?
I use.
Substack.
I have an iMac, and I think I use Pages.
Oh, okay.
I just copy the pages and put it on the Substack.
Okay.
Is that answering your question?
It does. Thank you.
Good.
So I'll chime in I've known Hans for, I don't know, 40 years, and it was nice to have you as my patient and your mom as my patient. And that's how we got to know each other. When you were running Macy's and hearing all about Macy's and trying to get a special deal, when I went in.
White Flower Day.
But there's always a lot of humor. You were always a lot of fun. I was thinking of the Enneagram as it went around, and you talking about how much you need to have love. And I, by the way, subscribed for his blog today. So some applause for that, yeah. I just think that the Enneagram, you sound like a perfect 3 to me.
Well, I have to look at it here. I'll
Yeah.
definitely look it up.
Someone who
later
looks
on.
to the outside world for their esteem.
I don't know.
That's just my take on Hans Lehmann. So it was so neat when Eddie started this gathering that you jumped in and have been such a regular.
Well,
You have joie de vivre, my son.
Well, I think being here in Edie's studio, being surrounded by all these wonderful faces and smiles, and Edie, Fred, it's wonderful. This is a very giving spot. Anybody can sit here and just enjoy it. Well, thank you.
Oh, I have a
Yes,
question.
by all means.
I want you to say a little bit about Santa Claus experience, short version. That that's a wonderful book. Santa really needs an agent, and I didn't know that.
Well,
but,
Santa
yeah.
doesn't need an agent, but it helps. Particularly, I have retired for about 20 years. I did work yesterday, Saturday, at Joining Hands, which is a benefit shop, and I know them quite well. They asked me, they had a big event, a crafts event, after on the weekend. So I certainly love to be Santa there, and I'm going to write a blog on it. Being Santa is wonderful. Not to be sacrilegious, it's as close as you'll ever get to being God. I mean, you are worshipped by any age. And about 1/3 of the people sitting on your lap or standing next to you are adults. They all love you. Playing it is just wonderful. Getting dressed, and I'd forgotten, is a real pain. I mean, the boots, you have to be a contortionist to put the boots on and to put them back off. I have an apron full of pillows. And I put the apron full of pillows around me, and then I zip up the jacket, and it's really taut. Still, people say it's too, you look too thin, Santa. But what's the problem with this thing is you can't see your feet. And a few times I have been on fire trucks coming in as Santa, and they have a ladder right there. And you can you can pull yourself up, but going down, I had to have somebody take my feet and put them on the rungs, because I can't see where I am. I have no idea. That big belly really gets in your way. Anyway, and I'll play Santa one more time, also for gratis. That's, I was going to say, the difference between me and the agent. The agent will demand money and then give you a slice. But when you're yourself, it's all gratis. So that's all right. Anyway, that answer your question?
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well,
Thank you.
Whoosh.